Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Momentum Monday with me, Emily McHugh, your supercharged coach and host. And today's Momentum Monday is going to be always an interesting one. It's all about weathering the storm of business, weathering the storm of life, and any kind of storm you might find yourself in today or have found yourself in or could potentially find yourself in. The tips I'm going to share will really be valuable. And so I'm going to start off by reading a poem that I found by rummaging through some old papers from my aunt, my dearly departed Aunt Edith, my dad's older sister. And this was written, she didn't date it. She was a stickler for dating things, but she didn't date this. So I suspect she might have written it maybe in the 80s or maybe even in the early 90s. And it's a poem, and she didn't write who it was by, but here it is. There's nothing so bad that it could not be worse. There's little that time may not mend, and troubles, no matter how thickly they come, most surely will come to an end. When the sea of joy is hidden and the sky is overcast, just remember, light is coming, and a storm can never last. So that's the poem. I don't know who it's by or anything like that, but it's perfect timing for our discussion today. It actually inspired the topic because last night here in Florida, we had a terrific hailstorm, at least where I lived, and it was just nonstop pounding like popcorn going off outside. And it's like when it comes, you don't know how long it's going to stay. You don't know what damage it's going to do, but you have to weather the storm. So we're going to go into some 3 key tips on how we can all weather the storm, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, or wherever you find yourself. But first, before we do that, I invite you to subscribe, of course, to @SuperchargedCoach on YouTube. Like, comment, share, and let me know if something resonates with you in the discussion today. Share it in the comments because that really is very helpful to get your feedback. So let's dive right on in to our discussion. And so the very first thing in how to weather the storm is you want to think of creating systems. So it's about kind of being prepared. So we never know when a storm is going to come. And sometimes, if again, being here in Florida, we have hurricane season and we get warnings that a hurricane could be on the horizon. So we may get some fair warning to put some of those systems in place, but some other storms catch you off guard, like that hailstorm I just mentioned. But creating systems. So when you talk about your business, that's weather storms as in actual weather. But when you talk about the storms that can come into your business, you can have recessions, which is external to your business. You could have a slowing in sales. You could have a slowing in opportunities. You could have all kinds of things that may go awry. But you want to kind of put in place things that can help. So for example, you could have a sales process where if you normally reached out to 10 people, now you're going to reach out to 20 people. You're going to reach out to 30 people. Your system would be to increase the outreach to compensate for maybe the shortfall, or then to maybe create another approach. Other types of systems are like, for example, your bookkeeping systems, how you track your records, how you track your income, your expenses. Maybe you want to set up a QuickBooks system and the system of how to do the inputs, the workflow systems. And so there are many different types of systems, but the whole point is put in place a process that will allow you to address a situation so that you're just not caught off guard all the time when something happens. So that is tip number 1. Did that work? Tip number 1. Now, tip number 2. Tip number 2 is prepare for the inevitable, which is very tightly linked to create the systems because you're thinking of what could come and then you prepare for it. But preparing for the inevitable is almost a mindset type situation where you know mentally that things will not always be perfect, things will not always be going exactly to plan, because there's not everything that you don't know when certain things are going to, you can't control for everything, and you don't know when certain things are going to happen. And having this mindset allows you not to be so distressed and discouraged when things are not always going how you want it to go. So, for example, I want to share that, when it comes to social media, sometimes we don't feel like posting, we don't feel like going live, we don't feel like doing a lot of things. And so it's inevitable that one day is going to come along where you're not going to feel like doing something. So you create the systems, going back to that, that allows you to prepare for this. So, for example, for me, one of the things that I do is I will batch and prepare videos. Sometimes I pre-record them in advance so that I don't have to go live in real time. Right now I am going live in real time at the recording of this video, but sometimes I'll record it like 2 o'clock in the morning and then publish it at 8 a.m. or record it the week before and then publish it a week later. So that is a way that you can prepare for maybe times when that you're not up to it, or sometimes you're sick, you're not feeling well. I mean, all kinds of vagaries. And so you prepare in advance to the extent that you can. So for the days when you're not feeling like it, that's an inevitability. You're not always going to feel like it. It's almost like, an athlete who is training. They don't always feel like getting up at 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. and working out. But understanding that those days will come and do come allows you to better manage it when that situation arises. Okay, and sometimes it's just a clue for you to take a rest, take a break. Maybe sometimes when you don't really feel like doing something, it's time to take a break. Okay, so on to the third tip. But before we go to the third tip, people, there, my little friend just wants to remind you one more time that you do need to subscribe. You do need to do this. It's very important. Actually, the sound I want to make, I'm not able to make right now. It's the little bike sound. Okay, well, we'll just do a pause instead. So please do that at Supercharged Growth on YouTube. That's right. Okay, back to the presentation. So the third tip is you want to see beyond the storm. You don't want to get so blinded by the current temporary situation that you cannot see beyond. And this right here is one of the most critical tips, because we can get lost in the moment and forget that it won't last. And all storms do come to an end, as the poem that I read earlier just a while ago tells us. It does not last. All storms come to an end. The only thing is we don't know how long they're going to last. So sometimes we get caught up in the fact of not knowing how long they're going to last, but they do end. And that's the good news. So if you can weather it out, if you can just endure it a little while, you'll see light at the end of the rainbow, light at the end of the tunnel, and that rainbow will indeed come out for you and your business. This is really quite critical to understand and to appreciate, because many times we give up short of that place. If you keep that momentum going and doing what you need, that's why Momentum Monday exists, is to kind of let you know that you build up momentum to carry you through, to push you through those times when you're maybe stalling, not quite up to your energy levels, up to your supercharged self, and you need that little extra push or that extra rest. Okay, so you have to regulate and modulate according to how the circumstances present themselves. So now let's do a little summary here. So how to weather the storm. So number one, create systems. Create those systems, put them in place, have them ready. Number two, prepare for the inevitable. Prepare for the inevitable. Don't let it catch you off guard. And number three, see beyond the current situation, see beyond, see a brighter future, have your vision clearly in front of you, and you don't allow temporary roadblocks or setbacks to impede that vision from coming to reality, from coming to life. And this, I can't encourage you enough as entrepreneurs, business people, anybody pursuing any goal that you have. Do not allow temporary setbacks to impede you from fulfilling your vision and fulfilling your mission and really completing your journey. So with that, yes, I think that's really absolutely so yeah, take note of that. Take note of that. And with that, I want to thank you again for joining me for another Momentum Monday. Yes, indeed. And let me get my little thing back on my screen. I hope this was useful to you. Again, please share your tips below. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, the whole works. And I hope to see you next week here, same time, same place. And yeah, people, you can weather any storm. It will not last. It will not last. Just remember that. So I wish you a great Supercharged week. Join Supercharged Club if you need some support to help you with that process of weathering the storms of your business and staying encouraged and keeping that momentum going. Make sure to see the links in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And I will see you next time, next week on Momentum Monday.